Drunken driving charges against an Indianapolis police officer involved in a fatal traffic accident have been dropped. Officer David Bizard crashed his cruiser into two motorcycles stopped at an intersection back on August 6th. One man died, two others were seriously injured. Police say Bizard's car had its lights and sirens on. A test showed he had a blood alcohol content of more than twice Indiana's legal limit, but the prosecutor says those results cannot be used as evidence in the case. That's because Bizard's blood was taken by a lab technician at a clinic instead of at the hospital, which is required by state law. The police chief says he's looking into why officers at the scene did not conduct a breath test.
I've been leading people for over 30 years, and I'm confident that someone knew of the human weakness that was present and yet failed to act or to inform others.
Bizard still faces 3 felony charges, including 1 count of reckless homicide. Meanwhile, he's been suspended without pay, and authorities are seeking to have him fired. Brian Thomas, The Associated Press.
Stunning change of events for a Boca Raton man.
The DUI charges against the officer who allegedly was driving drunk and killed the local man's brother were dropped tonight. News Channel 5's Rochelle Ritchie is live in Boynton Beach, where she just spoke with the family and has the developments now on the investigation. Rochelle?
Well, Jim and Kelly, the brother says that this is a huge blow to them. The charges were dropped because the accused officer's blood was not drawn at the hospital, nor was it drawn by the proper hospital personnel. So all 4 counts relating to his blood alcohol level were dismissed.
Our investigation failed.
It's certainly not the news the brother of 30-year-old Eric Wells wanted to hear.
Anger was the first thing that came out.
The Indianapolis Public Safety Director announcing officers at the scene of the crash did not follow protocol when drawing blood from K-9 officer David Bizard.
Problem is the process wasn't followed.
Either it's a cover-up, which is what we think it is, or these people are completely incompetent and they don't need to be on the job.
Today in a courtroom 19 hours away from Wells's original home of Boca Raton, Bizard quietly walked out of court free to get back behind the wheel after a judge allowed him to keep his license.
Mr. Bizard, you get to keep your license. How do you feel today?
In a last-minute news conference, the public safety director made his apologies to Wells's family, saying they are embarrassed at the costly mistake.
We apologize to the family. We apologize to the community.
Bizard is accused of driving his squad car while drunk. His blood alcohol level 2 times the state's legal limit when he hit and killed Wells and critically injured 2 other people. Officers responding to the scene drew blood from Bizard, a mistake that would later have several charges dropped, a move the prosecutors say should question the credibility of the department's officer.
I am frustrated because there is an appearance, right? There's an appearance, and whether it's accurate or not, that something was amiss.
Obviously, we're pleased with the judge's ruling, and we're going to leave it at that.
Wells's brother says with the DUI charges dropped, he feels Bizard is getting off easy, while his brother paid the ultimate price.
The police up there is giving him the opportunity to resign. My brother didn't get the opportunity to leave willingly, and I don't think he should either.
Now, Bizard still faces 3 felony charges, including reckless homicide and 2 counts of criminal recklessness. Live in Boynton Beach, Rochelle Ritchie, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Motorcyclist not hurt physically in the crash involving IMPD officer David Bizard is talking about his experience in the letter that he wrote to Mayor Greg Ballard. George Burt witnessed the crash that killed his friends Eric Wells and injured Kurt Weekly and Mary Mills. In his letter to the mayor, George says this: I was the one left to tend to the mayhem your officer created until the help of a nurse who knelt with me beside Eric as his life ebbed away. I had to face the Wells, Mills, and Weekly families wondering how they would feel about me walking away unscathed physically from the chaos your officer created. Well, they only gave their love to me, and it has been through that love I have been able to cope with this horrible daily nightmare. George Burt joins us live with more now this morning on how you're doing emotionally through all this. How are you doing?
It varies day by day. It depends on what comes from the news, what they find, what they haven't found. It's up and down. I could feel pretty good, and then come home, turn on the news, find there's something else happened, and then I've got to get over that hurdle.
Describe to us, go back to that day when you were sitting on your bikes in those moments right before the crash?
We're thinking, I'm thinking food, you know. I'm thinking, hey, we're going to go eat. It's a beautiful day out to be on that bike, and then I'm with Mary and Kurt, and just met a new rider, Eric, for the very first time. So we're just headed out there to eat, and hell broke loose.
What was that hell immediately like?
Well, when you see bodies just go and fly, you see machines that normally are on the ground, and you're riding, just being tossed up like they're nothing, and then just deposited. And they're 40 feet away, a person laying on the ground where they were behind you moments ago. And it's just, all I can say is carnage.
Did you run right over and try to start helping?
Well, the first thing I did was put my bike down on its kickstand, and then, you know, it's right where everybody sees it in your pictures. That's it. I put it right there. I went to Eric because he is behind me. I mean, he literally is probably about 5-6 feet behind me and to the left. And the next thing we know, when the dust settles, he's way over out front of me. And I run over to him, and I check him out. I kneel down and I put my fingers on his neck to see if I can feel a pulse. And, you know, there's one there, and he's on his back. His legs aren't the way they're supposed to be. He's looking straight up. And a nurse, thank God for the nurse, comes by there, and her hand goes next to mine, feels for a pulse, and then she immediately starts CPR on him. And I then go to Kurt, and I see him. There he is. He's on his back, and every breath, blood just comes out on him. And then Mary comes. Mary's behind me, and she moans, and I've got somebody that's moving somebody, so I go to her, and, you know, I just tell her help is coming. And this lady, her eyes are open. She's trying, I guess, grasp what's going on, but I don't think she really knows what's going on. And she moves her body and puts herself on her back. And, geez, you know, and I tell her where help's coming. And then that officer comes out of his car, and it's just finished. I guess they put their mics up here. If I'm not mistaken, put that up there, and then.
What did he say?
Only the things he said through that whole thing. Did you hear my siren? Did you hear my siren?
Did he help?
Here's what happened next. I'm with Mary, and I see Kurt's bike. It's draped over him, and so what I had to yell at the officer, help me get the effing bike off of Kurt. And so I go up to their bike, start lifting it up, and he comes over, grabs the handlebars, and we finish riding it up, and I put the kickstand down, and back to Kurt, and like I said, I can't, he's just, it's a horror scene. It's just, and then I go back to Mary and stay with her. The ambulance crew finally comes there. A deputy sheriff's with me.
George, I don't have a lot more time,
Yes,
but I
ma'am.
want you to be able to talk about the sign that you made and now where you're going to be tomorrow, where you were last Friday. Where do you stand, where do you sit, and what do you do? Hold up that sign for me. You made this. It's simple, but it has a lot of meaning.
It's simple. I just said, let's not forget my friends, and I give the date of the accident, and I just stand there. And what was nice was see people honking. I had a postman come by, you know, walked a little dip because there's a dip going to where I stand, and people taking the time to say, hey, we're with you. I've had police officers come by, you know. I don't know if I'm in the right or wrong, but, you know, they didn't say anything except for one officer. One officer came by, and he says, we think about you daily. So,
we do. We think about you and your friends daily as well, and we're going to do what we can to help no one forget what happened.
Yes, ma'am, and everybody please pray for my friends, and their families, the Wells family, the Weekly family, the Mills family. They have helped me get through this.
We're sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming in and sharing just a small piece of your story
this
morning. Right now, again, for continuing coverage always on the Bessard case, check out fox59.com. You can also find George Burt's entire letter to the mayor right there on our homepage. And again, if you see him out there tomorrow, he'd love it if you'd give him a big hug. Let him know that you're thinking about him. Right now, it's 6:50, and Jill Sheridan